to the Edifice of Trust podcast. The Edifice of Trust podcast is a thoughtful discussion of today's current events from the perspective of America's founding principles. Welcome. From heart-pumping music to head-thumping commentary. The television has been blaring announcements of all the great and wonderful awards shows for the upcoming awards season. There is a virtually unending number of these shows in the offing, including the Golden Globes, January 7th, the Critics' Choice Awards, January 11th, the Producers Guild of America, January 20th, the Screen Actor Guild Awards, January 21st, the Grammys, January 28th, the Directors Guild of America, February 2nd, and, of course, the Oscars, February 25th. This is only a partial list, as there appears to be an awards show for almost every category of movie, television show, and form of music imaginable. And the awards go on and on. Awards not only for stars, but for makeup artists and sound mixers. I gave up watching these shows a long time ago, not just because I had not seen or heard of any of the movies or songs up for awards, which is even worse now that awards go to movies seen only on streaming services such as The Handmaid's Tale, but because of the deep psychological yearning of these already wealthy and accomplished professionals to be festooned with even more adulation and accolades. And it used to be boring for them to thank everyone from their hairdresser to Harvey Weinstein for helping them on their way to winning such a prestigious award. But now these needy narcissists believe that winning such an award gives them a platform to spout publicly about their political beliefs, varying from the left to the far, far left, and how much they hate President Trump and everything he does. Being an entertainer does not give you credibility as a political pundit. These entertainers state that they have a First Amendment right to such speech just as much as Colin Kaepernick. But I have a right too, and I exercise it by turning off your boring show and its political tirades, as do many other people since viewership of the award shows is way down. But there is a reason why Hollywood, and other places where entertainers gathered, is so heavily populated by the left. The psychological factors that make them good at their craft also drive them to the left. A study published in the Psychology of Popular Media Culture, called The Personality Disorder Profile of Professional Actors by Davison M. and Fernham A., published in 2018, found that a group of 214 professional actors scored significantly higher on antisocial, narcissism, histrionic, borderline, and obsessive-compulsive scales than did a control group of non-actors. They further found that, in fact, these traits actually made them better actors and actresses. Wait a minute, you might say. Just because they are messed up doesn't make them leftists. First, let me be clear. Just because the actors in the study scored higher on these traits than the control group does not make them nuts. You, and I, probably share many of these traits to a lesser or greater extent. But actors need to be empathetic to the feelings of others in order to be able to show those emotions on the stage or screen. And a study, The Neuronal Basis of Empathy and Fairness, Singer, 2007, shows that feelings of empathy and fairness light up the same areas of the brain as shown by magnetic resonance imaging, MRIs. You still might not see the connection between acting and leftist causes. But Jonathan Haidt, in his 2012 book, The Righteous Mind, you can read my analysis, Righteous Thinking and Foolish Nature, on my website, found that progressives and leftists rated caring and fairness as the most important moral foundations, while conservatives and libertarians also rated loyalty, authority, sanctity, and liberty highly. And while actors need empathy to portray people on stage and screen, Haidt found them to be blind to any other moral foundations than caring and fairness, which is why they do such a good job of portraying the downtrodden, but are so wooden and unconvincing when portraying conservatives. And while other entertainers may not be directly reliant on empathy, a performing artist that cannot empathize with his or her audience will soon be an accountant. To a progressive, only empathy and fairness are important. Leftists believe that people who do not rate empathy and fairness as the most important imperatives are not just different, they are evil, bad people to be opposed with every fiber of your body. This is why they rage and riot on campuses when a conservative speaker tries to discuss any topic. The topic is meaningless. The person is evil and must be opposed. But a society based only on empathy and fairness would be a very lopsided society. It would also be a very poor society. Empathy does not provide material goods, and fairness does not generate capital necessary for economic growth. An advanced society needs more than just empathy and fairness. But tell that to a progressive and you are likely to get a blank stare, or worse. So, when the stars walk across the stage at the Dolby Theater, or other stage of the almost innumerable other venues, thank everyone from their mother to the key grip best boy, and then veer off into some leftist diatribe or rant against the president. Please have pity on them. They cannot help themselves. Then switch the channel to the hockey game and go on with your life. And now for a brief announcement. Don't forget, my latest book, 2017, A Trumpian Year in Review, is now available in paperback and ebook versions on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iBooks. Also available are my previous publications, Principled Policy and Edifice of Trust. And if you want some adventure, try my novel, Tawantinsuyu. More information on these books, plus links to retail outlets, is available on my website, www.edificeoftrust.com. Thank you. Welcome back. Hollywood isn't the only place in the country having its silly season. When it comes down to silliness, the entertainers in Tinseltown must take a back seat to the pros in Washington, D.C. At a December 11th meeting with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, soon to be Speaker of the House, President Trump, as an expression of his firm resolve for a border wall, said, quote, "I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck." And when the Democratic minority in the Senate used cloture to prevent the majority of Republicans from approving $5 billion for the border wall in a bill to fund the government, President Trump followed through by shutting down that part of the government not already funded, about a quarter of the discretionary budget, affecting about 800,000 government workers. Now, is President Trump acting like an asshole for shutting down the government, creating enormous hardship for 800,000 government workers and their families, and making the United States look stupid and silly to the rest of the world for a piece of wall that will cover only a fraction of the border, and is likely to be the only wall section once Ms. Pelosi takes over as Speaker? Or is Chuck Schumer, and by extension Ms. Pelosi, acting like an asshole for invoking cloture to block an expenditure that, even though it is silly and pointless, represents only a few tenths of a % of the total budget compared to the many billions spent on other silly, pointless things that governments, both Republican and Democratic, foist on the people every year? You might say that the answer might depend on your political affiliation. But a recent survey by More in Common, a centrist think tank, stated that only 14% of the population make up far-right and far-left fringes of political opinion that would support such a stupid and counterproductive exercise of governance. For more on that, see my blog post, Wignut, November 5th, 2018, in my website. It is likely that most of the remaining 86% of the people would think that all three are acting like assholes for sacrificing the country to their political agendas. Thank you. Thanks for listening to my podcast. If you would like to hear more Edifice of Trust podcasts, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.